Hey guys, some time ago I got a request about a video for team building in general in the game, how to build a team, and I've been thinking about the format of this video for a while, how to make it, and because I like to study team of people that are better than me in the game, I decided to make a video where I talk about the team used in Hell 4 and Inferno for Threshold, which is arguably the most important mode you have in the game, and then by commenting what they use and why they use them, it's pretty much gonna be also a team building guide because you're gonna see all the role that people use, and even if the character are different, because of course you have to adapt based on the content. If you do Terrormaton or Doki Doki, you're gonna use different type of character of Animus because the run is gonna be different, it's gonna work in a different way. The role are pretty much the same all the time, so I think hopefully this is gonna be a useful video for you guys that are wondering about team building, and it's also gonna be useful for me because, by the way, I'm gonna study while I make the video about other people team that work in the game. And so, yeah, I hope it's gonna be useful. For this first picture, I don't have any background because I probably didn't take the screenshot myself, but I took it from Discord of my union. And so I'm gonna put Super Mario when I edit the video, dancing or something, because I'm Italian. A lot of people were asking me in the comment in the previous video, but I live in Japan, so Italy and Japan, I think Super Mario is gonna be appropriate, and they cannot copyright me because the channel is not monetized yet. So let's start with the video, and this one is gonna be L4 Terrormaton. As you can see, it's clear time order, so these are the fastest team that finish Terrormaton in L4. And let's start with the DPS. So DPS is gonna be Victor for the first team. Then we have Victor and Messiah. Then we have Real Mocha and Dieting. And then if I didn't butcher the name, which I probably did, then we have Victor and Lian. So I would say the most normal one as a choice are the first one and the last one. I would say Lian, Victor, and Dieting are gonna be your main DPS here. You can also use Chloros, by the way, if you have it. Probably it's also in the ranking, just not as fast as these people, but I'm sure 100% there are team with Chloros as a main DPS. And yeah, Real Mocha and Messiah here are just like second DPS that they put in the team just because they can afford, because they can finish in 20 seconds. Ideally, especially Real Mocha, you don't want to use Real Mocha in Terrormaton. She's green attribute, so please do not use your Real Mocha in Terrormaton unless you're very strong and you can clear like these guys in 20 seconds. It's not the best idea. Let's just say that. And so yeah, I would say realistically speaking, if you want to build DPS for Terrormaton, it's gonna be these three: 1, 2, 3, and also Dieting. Obviously, it's very good. And so let's go for these four. Then after the DPS, which obviously you're gonna have in every team, there is a buffer character to make the run faster because it's gonna improve the damage of your DPS. And in this case, it's Biontine for the first three team, and then for the last one they have Yang. Now Yang is actually a character. Is first of all, it's very good and low investment, so it's very good for Terrormaton overall, I would say. And usually you want to use him for the skill trim, which has turn control and also the dispel. But in this case, because this guy can finish in like 25 seconds, I would guess use the skill 2, which is the one with the crit rate. So he basically use skill 2 to buff the crit rate of both his Victor and Lian to kill the enemy, like the boss, as fast as possible. I don't think he need that much control, turn meter control from skill 3. First of all, because he clear very fast, and second of all, because he has Marvel. So Marvel is basically the god of turn meter control, which you're gonna see in pretty much every team. I think almost every team probably in this video. And so yeah, I think yeah, you can use Young in Terrormaton, but depending on your team, you could start with skill 2 or skill 3, I would guess. I'm actually surprised none of this team has Heinrich. I would assume on Inferno we're gonna see many more Heinrich because it's way more important there. And so DPS, buff character for the damage of your DPS. Then you have a debuff character, which is gonna also improve the damage of your character, not by buffing him, but by applying debuff on the boss. And Dinah obviously is the best choice, so everybody, as you can see, is using Dinah. This is because she's just the best character doing this job. Like, I don't think I have to explain anything. We talk about Dinah in almost every video I make, so she's that great. And also, I didn't mention, but Biontine here, she's used not for the rest, because again, they finish in 20 seconds. They just use her for the attack and crit damage buff, obviously, which I believe is also on the skill tree. I don't remember because it's been a while since I used her, but I think it's all on the skill tree. And then after the buff and debuff, we have turn control. Now, for turn control, as I mentioned before, everybody is using Marvel because it's just the best character, best and also the easiest one to build for this purpose. And also this one has Kachi with the C, not with the G, like I said in the previous video. And I would say in this case, so Kachi has a lot of stuff going on for him. Like his kit is very flexible. Let's just say that. That's why it was in my video together with number 41, because as a rare character is very useful, and you can, as you can see, it's just level 35 with 3 star. Like you don't need to invest that much. Of course, you still have to level up the skill that you plan to use, but it's not that difficult to build compared to other character. This is why it's a good choice and an interesting choice. I would say here, because he clear very fast, he probably is not using him for the cooldown reduction. He has a skill, I believe it's skill 2, with 1 turn cooldown reduction for your Animus, but probably is just using him for the buff or the turn control meter here. But usually I would say the most useful stuff is the cooldown reduction in your skill. I'm not sure you need it here because you probably one-shot the boss, but yeah, that's that. Then here, again, these two, they have one slot is taken by the second DPS, which is probably not something you're gonna need in Terrormaton, especially L4. And then the last one is, yeah, it was Young. And we already talked about Young. He's very, very good character for Terrormaton. So now let's move to Inferno. Now we have a background, finally, big improvement. And let's see the team. So, first of all, we can notice this guy is he took a different approach. It's like the timing is like 1 minute and a half for these people, and then this guy is like 4 minutes almost. And I would say this is because his DPS of choice is probably Rahu. I mean, maybe his Heinrich is also built DPS. But yeah, definitely this is not like a normal team that you will see often in Inferno Terrormaton. So I'm gonna focus more on the first three, which is what you probably gonna build. And so first of all, DPS as before, Lian and Gray. I believe at this point people, so when you start the game you're gonna build Gray for speed more likely, but then eventually when you start to reach the end game you're gonna do a hybrid build, so speed and damage or full damage. I think most people here in Inferno they have a full damage build. I could be wrong, maybe someone is still using hybrid, but it's either one or the other. And so let's just go for DPS. We can say it's Lian and probably Gray. Also, Heinrich can be built as DPS, but I don't think you need it at this point. You can just go for a more like a speed build for Heinrich, because of course you want him to go first. So Lian Gray, we have also Lian and Gray here, Lian and Gray here, and so this is the standard approach. I would say it's the best one because Lian you get it for free, and also Gray, and also you need to build Gray for Doki Doki 2. So it's a very smart idea to invest a lot in your Gray. Especially for free to play and low spender, because it's very, very flexible. You're gonna use him for both Terrormaton and for Doki Doki. And also, other than being a DPS, Gray work also as a buffer because you can improve the crit rate of your team and your DPS mostly. It's what you care about. And so yeah, that's very, very good choice. Very strong character. For the turn meter control, again, we have Marvel in literally every team. Then for Freya is one character that is similar to what I said about Gachi. Like, she can do a lot of stuff. In this case, as you can see, nobody is using Dinah anymore because she probably died too fast. You need a little bit more sustain here. And so Freya is a better choice because, yes, she can debuff the boss with the skill 3, but also she has sustain in your character. They can remove the debuff thanks to her buff from skill 2. And also she can help healing a little bit because, as you can see, in this first three team, nobody has a specific healer character. The last one is Sanya. Nobody has a healer character in the others, so it makes sense to use Freya. It's obviously a good choice and very accessible to everybody thanks to the rate up banner. And then last one is Heinrich. Now Heinrich, it's probably I don't know if I should say a must. Maybe some people will get mad at me and say, no, you can actually finish Inferno without Heinrich. But man, he's gonna make your life much, much easier if you have Heinrich, because he does a lot of stuff and he do everything very, very well. And in this case, he has the Dispel, the crit damage amplifier, the crit rate amplify. It's very, very good. And again, in my opinion, is a must in this in Inferno Terrormaton. Overall, is very, very good for both Terrormaton and Aurora. But especially when you reach Inferno, you kind of need Heinrich, in my opinion. And so this team is actually very like, realistically, people that reroll are gonna have either Lily or Heinrich based on their priority, and everything else is very easy to get. These two are free. This one is a rate up character, this one is SR character. So, and this is the same team. Literally, they using, yeah, everybody, all the top 3 people are using the same team. So you cannot go wrong when it comes to team for your Inferno Terrormaton. We have 1 DPS, 1 sub DPS plus buff, Then we have flexible character for turn control, debuff, and a little bit of sustain, healing, which is Freya. Then we have turn meter control from Marvel, and then you have more debuff and dispel also from Heinrich. This team is pretty much the standard for Inferno Terrormaton. Now let's move on to Doki Doki. So for Doki Doki, we start again with L4, and here we can see everybody's favorite rare character, which is number 41, and she appears in 2 of the team. So let's start with her. In this case, I would assume they're using her for the skill tree, which is for turn meter control and also the buff on the attack. And so again, as Kachi before, she doesn't need that much of an investment. Again, you need to level up the skill because that's what's important in this case. But this one is 4-star level 40 and this one is 3-star level 35. Ideally, you can just do that. You can keep them on level 35, just level up the skill, give them the module, the equipment from some other character that you're not using for the run that you're doing specifically, and you're good to go. Now the other team is using Kloss for the turn meter control and also for the debuff, so she's very very good. The problem is that being an SSR, she requires a bigger investment compared to SR character, but otherwise yes, Kloss is very good, especially here in Doki Doki. I would say it's definitely a very very good choice. And then again, here we have number 41, and in the last team, I would say there is not like a specific character for turn meter control. There is a little bit of control from Kraken, obviously, because when the enemy is frozen, they don't move on the turn meter bar. But yeah, the last one doesn't have anything specific. I would say ideally, like generic, unless you're doing a very specific team, you want to have at least one character that can control the turn meter. So keep that in mind when you build your team. And then we have Grey. I think, yes, every team has Grey. As you can see, some with the skin, some without the skin. But again, as I mentioned before, he's very, very good character because you can invest into him and be like happy about it because he's basically gonna be super strong in both Terrormaton and Doki Doki. So definitely everybody here made the right choice. And again, for damage, I'm sure they're built for damage at this point or hybrid, so speed and damage. But ideally, especially in Doki Doki, you want to go for damage, in my opinion, when it comes to Grey, because Real Mocha, she can do a lot of damage, especially with the buff on the crit rate from Grey. But yeah, you want to have some extra damage. So 2 DPS in Doki Doki, L4 and Inferno is probably not a bad idea. And Grey is gonna fill that role both as DPS and a buff. Then Real Mocha, of course, she's the main DPS. I don't think we need to add anything. She's amazing for Doki Doki. She's very specific. I know a lot of people are gonna start to talk bad about Tiamat, but the thing is, Tiamat is more like a generic character, and of course, you cannot see Tiamat in the top, like in the fastest clear, because Tiamat, she starts as a tank, let's just say that, and then she become a nuker when she transforms. But Real Mocha is a DPS from the start, so of course you just start and go for skill 3. For Tiamat, you need to build up the stack, and then she transforms, and then she can do very, very good damage. They're both good for Doki Doki, they're just different. And then we have CC character, which is super, super important in Doki Doki, to the point where this team used 2 of them, which is Kazuyo, the Revier or something like that, which is the one that put the enemy to sleep and then they take extra damage, and then Kraken. I would say Kraken, ideally, it's gonna be a must in my opinion until you reach L4. Then maybe Inferno you can actually skip, but up until L4 I used Kraken for CC, I didn't use Kazuyo, and it was amazing. He was doing his job very, very well. And then instead of Kazuyo in my team, I was using Marvel for turn meter control because I didn't have Kloss, and I also didn't invest into number 41. But yeah, this team obviously is the fastest one because he has the control plus the extra damage and the control from Kazuyo, so it makes much sense. I would say ideally this is gonna be the team I will build in the official for Doki Doki, and because I'm sure it can work also for Inferno. And then for the second team, instead of 2 CC character, we have Biontine. And again, this is very good because she performs super amazing. She has very good synergy with Grey, because one buff the crit rate, the other one buff the crit damage. In case things go wrong, here they have the revive. And she can do like a lot of stuff. She also buffed the attack. She's very, very good, very flexible character. So I'm not surprised they're using her here, despite the attribute, because she's fire, so be careful about that. And then for this team, they have 1 CC character, and this one, I would say it's also for turn meter control. Is the other version of Kazuyo, they're both SR. And then in the last one, we have, again, Kazuyo for the CC and Biontine for the buff. So this more they're more different compared to Terrormaton. Terrormaton, I would say they were more consistent. The team, they were more similar. This one people use a little bit more fantasy, but overall everybody has one or two character for turn meter control, one or two buff, one main DPS, one sub DPS, and then one or two CC characters. So as you can see, the structure of the team is always the same: one or two DPS, CC character in this case because it's needed. Otherwise, it could be turn meter control. Depending on the situation, you can have one or you can have two, and then you have a buff debuff character. So again, it's very similar. It's not difficult. Then we move to Inferno now. Let's check the team for Inferno. Let's start with the DPS. We have Real Mocha, Real Mocha, Real Mocha, Real Mocha. Nothing to explain here. It's very straightforward, the reason. Then for turn meter control, let's see. This one has Claws and a little bit from Freya. Again, Freya becomes a very good choice for Inferno because she's flexible, because she can fill many roles at the same time. She does turn meter control, like she can clear the debuff in your character. She can apply the debuff on the defense of the enemy character. So it's obviously a very, very good choice. I'm not gonna talk about Freya again because we already did it for Terrormaton. And so Klaus and Freya in this team. This team has Freya and Marvel. This team has Freya only. And this team has Freya and Marvel. Then let's check the CC character. In this case, we have Kazuyo. Then here we also have Kazuyo. Here we have Kazuyo. And here we have Kraken. Now, this makes sense. The problem in Inferno Doki Doki is that the second wave is, like the wave is already transformed. And that means that you're gonna need more damage, but you can only build that much damage in Real Mocha, especially considering that at this point you need to make sure that your team survive because the enemy deals a lot of damage to your characters. So as you can see, most people decided to go for Kazuyo only because not only she applied the debuff, but also from that debuff you can deal more damage. And yeah, I mean, it's the most it's the most reasonable choice. So nothing to say here. It's definitely very, very good. I want to try Inferno with both Kazuyo and Kraken, but yeah, if it doesn't work, I will probably copy this team here. And let's see, what do we have left? We have Grey, of course, as buff and sub DPS for this team. This team also use Grey, and this team is more particular. Let's see, the more particular team are the first one and the second one. So let's see why. This one has a different thing. He has Valerian, and the reason for Valerian here is that he probably needed more sustain to keep his team alive during the run, which obviously makes sense because the Inferno deals more damage. And so Freya and Valerian is actually a combo that I use a lot during the beta, and they're very good at keeping your team alive. If you don't know, Valerian is more like a HP equalizer because she's not like, she also has a healing, but the skill tree starts with a equalizer of the HP, so everybody has the same amount of HP. And she can also make sure that when one of your characters is about to die, if the skill tree is up, if she's in the skill tree mode, which is like hazy sleep or something, she's gonna make sure that that character survive. She also has buff. It's very, very flexible character. It's like a cheap version of Freya, except that she doesn't have the debuff. And very, very good character, so it's definitely a good choice. We also see Valerian here. This one actually has Lily. It's an interesting choice. I'm not sure if Lily is the best choice in Inferno. I mean, definitely for him it works, but I would probably not use Lily. So in this case, I assume his Real Mocha is very strong. Like, if he can get away at Inferno Doki Doki without Kazuyo, because he's using Kraken, and he has a lot of turn meter control, but he has less sustain because he doesn't have Valerian like these people do. It probably is Real Mocha was doing crazy amount of damage. Also, it doesn't have Grey. Wow, this team is very particular. I would say if you want to build a team for Doki Doki Inferno, the guy that is second is the best choice because it's also the easiest one to build. Second or third team are the best one, in my opinion. This one is more difficult because you have Claws and you need to invest into Claws in that case, which is SSR. So these two are definitely the better choice for free-to-play and low spender. But yeah, all these teams are very cool and very interesting. Now let's move on to Aurora. Okay, so we're gonna start once again with L4, and let's just go with the DPS. So here we have Victor, the second team has Rosa, third team has Rosa, and the last team has also Rosa. So of course, again, here you either gonna use Rosa or Victor or Dieting because they are the best nuker for single target boss when it comes to SR character. And I mean, nothing else to add. Like, you already know Victor is a freaking animal, and also everybody already knows that Rosa is super strong. We're gonna talk about Rosa more in the selector video, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering if they should go for her or something else. But yeah, that's obviously the choice for the DPS are perfect. That's what you're gonna use. And then let's move on. Of course, let's just talk about Heinrich. As from it's the same thing as Terror Maton. Heinrich for single target boss is an absolute unit, and the thing is, if you don't see someone using Heinrich, it's not because it's not the best possible pick, but because they don't have it, because it's a very rare character to find. But ideally, if you have Heinrich, you're gonna use it always, all the time in Aurora and Terror Maton. So nothing else. It does the same stuff that it does in Terror Maton, and here is even more important, the Dispel, because it's very annoying in Aurora that she has the immunity. And you need to strip that away, because otherwise you cannot apply the debuff. And now, talking about the debuff, guess what? Everybody has Dinah. So again, Dinah, very, very strong character. Not gonna speak because we already talked a lot about her, but obvious choice. And for the healer, everybody here has Linglo. Now, Linglo here is super, super important and the best choice, because everybody is gonna get her for free, and because you're gonna need some immunity on your team. Otherwise, everybody is gonna die super fast. So it's not only for the healing, because if it was for the healing, you could have other healer. But you're gonna need the immunity from Linglo here to start farming Aurora, because you could say, oh, okay, but I can build the immunity set. No, you cannot, because you can drop it only from Aurora. So it's when you don't have the immunity set, your immunity is gonna be Linglo. I'm sorry for ruining your party. And then let's just see the last slot, because so far everybody had the same team pretty much. So the first one is Biotin. Like, this guy, this Victor, is gonna do a stupid amount of damage. Like, he has the debuff, you put the debuff on the boss from Dinah, and then you have crit damage bonus, like from both Heinrich and Biotin. Like, that Victor, it's probably an animal. Like, he's gonna do crazy, crazy amount of damage. Then for the second team, the last slot is Freya. And oh, actually, for everybody's Freya, I didn't notice. And yeah, I mean, we already talked about Freya a lot in this video, so I'm not gonna add anything. Sustain and also more debuff, so they get this. I also actually used this was pretty much the second one was pretty much the team I used for Aurora L4, except that I didn't have Heinrich, and so I used Viper, which is like a cheap version of Heinrich, at least for the strip of the immunity. But everything else, Heinrich does much, much better than Viper. And yeah, I don't think we need to speak more about this team. They're all great, and pretty much if I find Heinrich, this is what I'm gonna build also. Maybe I'm gonna use Dieting instead of Rosa. We'll see, we'll see. And now let's move to Inferno Aurora, which is probably gonna be my nightmare when I start to play on the official. And let's see. Oh, wow, this guy has Viper. He has big balls to do, to clear Inferno Aurora without Heinrich. I would say he's the chat gamer here, more than the first one in the ranking. It took him 4 minutes. Let me start with this team. This team is crazy. So this guy has double DPS. I mean, yes, Tiamat is like the tank, and she has a little bit of survivability in the kit because of the taunt, obviously, is good, and the shield, but Jesus. So he gets the damage done from Rosa and Tiamat. Then he has Linglo, everybody, of course, has Linglo for the reason we mentioned before. Then for turn control, they all have Marvel, which makes sense. I actually didn't get to try Inferno Aurora, but I know it's gonna be the worst one for me, and it's gonna be definitely the most difficult one. And you definitely need turn control at this point, because the damage is insane, and also because overall Aurora, the more the more time she has a turn, and the more time they add in the run, like they have a turn, the more she get the immunity back up again. They strip away the debuff and the malus she has, so you want to slow them down as much as possible. But this is kind of true in every mode, really. It's as you can see, almost every team in every mode has a turn meter control character, so it's that important for the game, including PvP, by the way. And then instead of Heinrich, she has Viper. My man, it's I absolutely have no idea how to read your name, but applause to you, man. You're a monster. And then for the first two team, which are more standard, I would say, let's just see. For DPS, they both have Rosa, and this makes sense. At this point, you probably cannot nuke the boss, at least when we start, like in the first few weeks of the game. Then maybe people are gonna be able to build characters strong enough to like nuke even Inferno boss, but at this point they cannot nuke them, so Rosa is a better choice for sure compared to Dieting or Victor. And also because with this match, like they're gonna have a lot of crit rate because they get buffed by Rosa, and then every time they crit, remember, Rosa is gonna attack again. So it's definitely, I can see why everybody decided to go for Rosa. And Heinrich, I don't think I need to explain anything. We already know everything. Marvel, same stuff. Linglo. Now this is where they have difference. So the first one use more debuff, so to make sure that Rosa do more damage, and this is why he clear faster. 1 minute against 2 minute and 45. And this is the reason. Dyna is the reason. This one, he decided to play it more safe, and he has number 41 for extra turn control. And because of that, it was probably like a safe run compared to the first one, because he slowed down the boss more. But in exchange, of course, it took longer to kill the boss because he had less damage. Even with, like, you cannot compare the buff that number 41 has on skill 3 compared to the debuff that Dyna has. The debuff from Dyna is gonna make your DPS do much more damage. But again, this guy has more turn control, so definitely it's not a bad team, of course. I mean, one of the 3 guys that managed to clear Inferno Aurora. Of course, he has a good team. Nobody can say otherwise. And that's it really for all the 3 threshold. I hope it was useful. So pretty much, as we mentioned before, there's always 1 or 2 slot taken by DPS, and then maybe the second one is some flexible character like Grey, so as DPS but also buff character. Then there is always 1 or 2 character for turn meter control, depending on how much damage you have and how much survivability your team has. And they can be like character like Marvel, number 41. Freya also has a little bit of that. And then there is always some kind of survivability or healer. It could be healer, could be Linglo or Sanya. Survivability, other characters are like Freya or Valerian. And then there is always some debuff character, which can be Dyna, can be Heinrich. And also in this case, where you need the buff, no, the immunity strip, they use a character like Heinrich or Viper. Young can also do that, so remember, in case you want to use Young. And also Mia, and I think there was another character, now I forgot the name, but there was also another one. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. I think it's a little bit longer than I expected, but hopefully it was useful. And yeah, if you guys want to talk about team building in the comments, it's gonna be cool, and I'm sure a lot of people can benefit from that. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye bye.